The notification from my therapy scheduling app made my heart stop mid-session. Warning: account balance below emergency threshold. There it was, stark against the white background of my phone screen, completely derailing my train of thought during an online counseling session. I, Dr. Evelyn Parker, blinked hard at my device, hoping I'd misread it, but the numbers didn't lie. My carefully maintained emergency fund of $442,000 had dwindled to just over $3,000. Dar Parker? Is everything all right? My client's voice through the computer speakers snapped me back to reality. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, a clinical psychologist specializing in family trauma and trust rebuilding, watching my own carefully constructed financial safety net unravel during a session about family trust issues. "I'm so sorry, we'll need to reschedule," I managed, my professional composure cracking slightly. "I have an urgent matter to attend to." My hands were already reaching for my phone to call the bank as I ended the video call. "There must be some mistake," I said to the bank representative, pacing back and forth in my townhouse's home office. The space that usually felt like a sanctuary now seemed to be closing in around me. "I haven't made any large withdrawals." The representative's voice was sympathetic but firm. "I'm showing several transfers over the past 3 months, ma'am, all authorized using your credentials." "What?" "That's impossible." I grabbed my laptop, the one I used for my trauma counseling sessions, and logged into my account. The transaction history showed multiple transfers to an account I didn't recognize. "Can you tell me who owns the receiving account?" "The account belongs to Victoria Hayes." "My Aunt Victoria." The stress ball I used during difficult therapy sessions slipped from my hand, hitting the hardwood floor with a soft thud. "I never authorized these transfers." "Never." My mind raced through possibilities, professional training kicking in even as personal panic rose. How could this happen? When did someone get access to my accounts? The bitter realization hit me like a physical blow. Last year's pneumonia, when I'd been bedridden for weeks and needed help managing my bills. I called my parents immediately, my voice shaking despite years of practicing emotional regulation techniques with my clients. "Mom, what's going on with my emergency fund? Why is Aunt Victoria receiving my money?" The long pause that followed told me everything I needed to know, triggering every warning signal I'd learned to recognize in my years of counseling families through betrayal. "Honey," my mother, Margaret's voice was small, carrying that same tone I'd heard countless times in family therapy sessions, the tone of someone about to justify the unjustifiable. "We needed to help Cassandra with her college tuition. She got into that prestigious program she wanted." "You what?" My professional composure shattered completely. All my years of training families through crisis moments seemed to evaporate. "How did you even get access to my account? Remember when you were sick last year? You gave me your banking passwords to help manage your bills." The betrayal hit me with stunning force, made worse by my own expertise in family trauma. As a clinical psychologist, I'd guided countless families through trust rebuilding. Now I was living their nightmare. "That money was for emergencies," I said, my voice breaking. "My emergencies." Do you have any idea how many domestic violence survivors I've counseled about the importance of having an emergency fund? "Family helps family, Evelyn." My father Howard's voice suddenly joined the call. His tone carried that familiar real estate appraiser's authority he'd used throughout my childhood. "Cassandra needed the money more than you did. You're established, you have a good practice." "Stop." I cut him off, employing the same firm boundary setting I taught my clients. "You had no right." "This is theft. Don't be dramatic," my mother said, using the dismissive tone I'd learned to identify as gaslighting in my professional work. "Cassandra's future is at stake. She's family." I ended the call and immediately dialed Rebecca, my best friend since law school. She answered on the second ring. They stole my emergency fund, I said, my voice hollow. My own family stole over $38,000 from me to pay for Cassandra's college. They did what? Rebecca's lawyer instincts kicked in immediately. Evelyn, that's not just morally wrong. It's illegal. You need to call Andrew Morrison. He's the best family law specialist I know. But they're family, I whispered, echoing my mother's words, even as they made me sick. The irony of my situation wasn't lost on me. How many times had I sat across from clients, helping them work through similar family betrayals? Family doesn't steal from family, Rebecca said firmly, echoing the exact words I'd used with countless clients. Listen to me. If you don't take action now, they'll never respect your boundaries. You know this better than anyone. It's what you tell your clients every day. My phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra. Please understand, Evelyn. This opportunity means everything to me. Aunt Margaret and Mom said you'd want to help with my education, especially since you counsel trauma survivors and understand the importance of education. I tossed my phone onto my office couch, the one where I'd helped so many clients process their own family betrayals. They didn't even ask me, Rebecca. They just took it, like all my work meant nothing. Like all the hours I spent counseling survivors about financial independence meant nothing. Then make them understand it matters, Rebecca said, her legal training evident in her measured tone. I'm sending you Andrew Morrison's number right now. He specializes in family law and financial fraud. Want me to set up a meeting? I looked around my home office, at the certificates on the wall, the carefully arranged therapy space where I helped others rebuild trust. The stress ball on the floor seemed to mock my own professional expertise. Yes, I said finally, my voice stronger. Set it up. I'm done being the family ATM. Another text buzzed through, this time from my brother Nathan. Mom and Dad just called me about what happened. They're saying you're overreacting. As your accountant brother, I need to know. What are you going to do? I typed back, what I have to do. Rebecca was still on the line. I'll pick you up tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We'll go see Andrew together. After hanging up, I sat in my quiet office, surrounded by the tools of my trade. Therapy books, comfort objects for clients, journals filled with notes about healing family trauma. My family had always preached about loyalty, about helping each other. But as I looked at my bank balance again, I realized their version of family loyalty was as toxic as many cases I counseled. My phone kept buzzing with messages from various family members, all trying to justify the theft, all trying to make me feel guilty for being upset. I turned it off, remembering how often I'd advised clients to create boundaries in similar situations. Tomorrow, I would see a lawyer. Tomorrow, I would start fighting back. But tonight, I allowed myself to cry for the family I thought I had, and for the harsh reality of who they really were. Rebecca's Tesla pulled into the law office parking lot exactly at 8:55 a.m. I hadn't slept much, spending most of the night reviewing client notes about family betrayal cases, trying to find perspective in my professional experience. The morning sunlight and 3 cups of coffee had given me enough energy to face what was coming. You look like you've been up all night analyzing case studies, Rebecca said, giving my hand a squeeze as we walked into the building. Her legal expertise had saved many of my clients in the past. Now it was my turn to need her help. Thanks, that's exactly what every therapist wants to hear before meeting her lawyer. The elevator ride to the 6th floor was silent. My phone had blown up overnight with messages from family members, each one more guilt-inducing than the last. I'd only responded to Nathan, who seemed genuinely concerned rather than accusatory, his background in accounting giving him a unique perspective on the situation. Andrew Morrison's office was smaller than I expected, but warm and welcoming, reminding me of my own therapy space. The lawyer himself was an older man with kind eyes that hardened when I explained my situation. "Let me get this straight," he said, leaning forward in his chair. "Your mother used passwords you provided during an illness to transfer money from your personal emergency fund to your aunt's account without your knowledge or consent? And you're a clinical psychologist specializing in family trauma?" "Yes," I said, pulling out my phone. "I have screenshots of all the transactions. They took $38,750 over 3 months. The irony of my profession isn't lost on me." Rebecca, sitting beside me, spoke up. "And they're not even sorry. They're acting like Evelyn's the bad guy for being upset about it. Using the same manipulation tactics, she helps her clients identify and resist." Andrew's expression darkened. "This is a clear case of financial fraud, regardless of family ties. As a family law specialist, I've seen cases like this tear families apart." He paused, looking at me carefully. "As someone who works with traumatized families yourself, are you prepared for what pursuing legal action against your family might mean?" "What do you mean?" "Family court cases can get ugly, very ugly, especially when money's involved. Your relatives might say things, do things, that can't be taken back. Given your profession, this could affect not just your personal life, but your professional credibility." I thought about my mother's dismissive tone, my father's assumption that my hard work meant less than Cassandra's dreams, and my Aunt Victoria's entitled silence through it all. As a therapist, I'd seen this pattern countless times. "They already crossed a line that can't be uncrossed," I said firmly. "I need my emergency fund back, not just for me, but for all the trauma survivors I've counseled about the importance of financial independence." Andrew nodded, pulling out some forms. "Then let's begin. We'll start with—" My phone buzzed. Cassandra's name flashed on the screen. "Take it," Andrew said. "It might be relevant." I answered, putting it on speaker. "Cassandra?" "Evelyn, please." Her voice cracked. "I heard you're meeting with a lawyer. You can't do this to me, to us. I'm about to start my second semester, and if you make Mom return the money, I'll have to drop out." "That's not my problem, Cassandra. You should have thought about that before accepting stolen money." My therapist voice was slipping into place, professional and boundary setting. "I didn't know," she protested. "Mom and Aunt Margaret said you agreed to help with my education costs. The only truth I discovered was yesterday when everything blew up." I glanced at Andrew, who was taking notes. Years of counseling trauma survivors had taught me to recognize manipulation tactics. Whether you knew or not doesn't change anything. That money was my safety net. Money I set aside to help people in real crisis situations. "But I'm so close to my dreams." Cassandra's voice turned desperate, using the same emotional manipulation I'd helped clients identify countless times. "Just give me a chance to finish this semester. I'll work part-time, take loans, anything. Please don't ruin this for me." Rebecca grabbed my hand as I closed my eyes, centering myself the way I taught my clients. "Cassandra, I'm sorry, but I can't trust any promises right now. As a therapist, I know how important boundaries are. You need to talk to your mom about this." "Mom's crying. She says you're destroying the family over money, that you're betraying everything you stand for as a family counselor. Is that what you want?" Andrew cleared his throat, signaling me to wrap it up. "What I want is my money back," I said firmly, using my professional voice. "What happens after that is up to your mom." "Goodbye, Cassandra." I hung up, my hands shaking despite years of practice in maintaining composure during emotional confrontations. Rebecca immediately pulled me into a hug. "You did great," she whispered. "You set those boundaries like a pro." Andrew finished his notes and looked up. "That call actually helps our case. Your cousin essentially admitted the money was taken without your knowledge." Now let's discuss our strategy. For the next hour, we went through the legal process. Andrew explained how he'd first send a formal demand letter, giving them a chance to return the money before filing a civil suit. As a family law specialist, he understood the delicate balance between legal action and family preservation. What if they refuse? I asked, thinking of all the cases I'd counseled where family conflicts escalated to legal battles. Then we go to court. With the evidence we have, the unauthorized transfers, their admissions, and your documented history of saving this money for emergency counseling resources, we have a strong case. Your professional background actually strengthens our position. As we wrapped up the meeting, my phone buzzed again. A text from Nathan. Just talked to Cassandra. She's a mess. But I've been reviewing some financial records as part of my accounting work, and I get why you're doing this. Can we meet? I think there's more to this story than anyone's telling. I showed the message to Andrew. Meet him, he advised. Information is power, especially in family cases. Just don't make any promises or agreements without consulting me first. Outside the office, Rebecca hugged me again. Want me to come with you to meet Nathan? I can provide legal perspective if needed. I shook my head. I need to do this part alone. Use my counseling skills to really understand what's happening. But thank you for everything. That's what best friends are for, she smiled. Keep me posted. As I watched her drive away, I texted Nathan back. Coffee shop on 5th Street. 1 hour. The war for my emergency fund was officially beginning, and I needed all the allies and professional insight I could get. The coffee shop was busy when I arrived, but I spotted Nathan immediately in our usual corner booth. My accountant brother looked tired, his usually precise appearance disheveled, and he was nervously shredding a paper napkin, a habit I'd noted in many anxious clients. Your clinical eye is probably picking up all sorts of stress indicators right now, he said as I slid into the seat across from him. Professional hazard, I replied, trying to balance my therapist instincts with my role as his sister. You look about as good as I feel. Yeah, well, analyzing these financial records has been keeping me up. He pushed a coffee toward me. Already ordered your usual. Remember how you used to joke that between your therapy practice and my accounting firm, we had the perfect skill set for family crisis management. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup, the familiar gesture grounding me. So, what's this other story I need to hear? Nathan glanced around before leaning forward. It's worse than you think, Evelyn. Aunt Victoria isn't just using your money for Cassandra's tuition. She's been running a whole scheme. As an accountant, I should have caught this sooner. What do you mean? My therapeutic instincts were on high alert now. Remember how she always bragged about Cassandra getting that full scholarship? There was no scholarship. She's been taking money from different family members, playing them against each other, making up stories about emergency needs. I've been tracking the money flow. My stomach dropped. Years of counseling experience recognizing the signs of long-term manipulation. How do you know this? Because she tried it with me first, he admitted, looking ashamed. 3 months ago, she came to me asking for money for Cassandra's special program fees. When I said I couldn't afford it, she started guilt-tripping about family loyalty. As an accountant, I started noticing discrepancies in her stories. The bell above the coffee shop door chimed, and we both jumped. It was just another customer, but Nathan's paranoia was starting to make sense. How many others? I asked, my clinical mind already cataloging patterns of deception. At least 3 cousins and Uncle Rob. Each thinks they're the only one helping. Each got a different story. He pulled out his phone and showed me a series of messages. Look at these texts from Aunt Victoria to our cousin Sarah. She told her Cassandra needed money for medical bills. My forensic accounting background is screaming red flags. I scrolled through the messages, my anger building both personally and professionally. The manipulation tactics were textbook. I'd helped clients identify and cope with similar patterns countless times. Does Cassandra know about all this? I don't think so. Not everything. He hesitated, showing me more financial records. But she's not as innocent as she pretends. I overheard her and Aunt Victoria arguing last week. Cassandra was demanding more money for some spring break trip, saying she deserved it after playing her part so well. The coffee in my stomach turned sour. Playing her part. Those tears on the phone earlier. The desperate college student act. She'd been doing that with everyone. As a therapist who specialized in family trauma, I should have recognized the performance. And Victoria had orchestrated the entire scam. I pushed my coffee away, feeling sick. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I was gathering evidence, he said, pulling out a USB drive. Bank statements, text messages, recordings of conversations. My accounting background helped me piece it all together. I was planning to confront Aunt Victoria myself, but then this happened with your money. He slid the drive across the table. I think your lawyer could use this. The bell chimed again. This time, Cassandra walked in. She froze when she saw us, then straightened her shoulders and marched over, wearing the same practiced confidence I'd seen in many of my younger clients who were hiding something. Having a nice family meeting without me? She asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Sit down, Cassandra, I said, using my professional tone. We need to talk about your acting career. Her face paled slightly, but she sat. I don't know what you mean. Cut the act, Nathan snapped, his accountant's precision showing through. We know about the fake scholarship, the multiple stories, the spring break demands, all of it. The numbers don't lie. Cassandra's facade cracked. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Mom's been planning my whole life since I was born. The right school, the right program, the right connections. She tracks everything on her social media, building this perfect image. Do you know what it's like to have your entire future mapped out by someone else? So you decided to help her steal from your family? I asked, my therapist's instincts noting her deflection tactics. Do you know how many clients I've counseled through similar betrayals? I didn't steal anything. I just played along, made things easier. Mom said everyone was happy to help, that it was all arranged. She said you, as a family therapist, would understand the importance of supporting family. Happy to help? I pulled up my bank statement. Does this look arranged to you? They drained my emergency fund without even asking. Money I set aside to help trauma survivors start new lives. Nathan pushed his accounting records toward her. Her eyes widened at the numbers. I didn't know it was that much. Mom said it was just a few thousand from each person. The calculations. Well, she lied, Nathan said. Just like she lied about everything else. The numbers tell the whole story. Cassandra's lower lip trembled, but this time I could see the calculation behind it. The same performative emotion I helped my clients identify in toxic relationships. What are you going to do? I'm going to get my money back, I said firmly, using the same tone I encouraged my clients to use when setting boundaries. And now, thanks to Nathan's accounting expertise, I can help everyone else get their money back too. You'll destroy Mom, Cassandra whispered. Her whole social media presence is built on being the perfect mother who gave her daughter the perfect education. No, Cassandra, your mom destroyed herself when she decided to steal from her family. As a therapist, I can recommend some excellent colleagues who can help you both work through this. Regina stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I won't help you hurt her. I can't. All those Instagram posts about our perfect mother-daughter relationship. As she stormed out, Nathan turned to me. What now? I picked up the USB drive, thinking of all the families I'd helped through similar crises. Now we take this to Andrew. And then we call a family meeting. All the cousins, Uncle Rob, everyone. It's time they knew the truth about Victoria's perfect social media life. It's going to get ugly, he warned, his accountant's mind probably already calculating the emotional cost. It already is ugly, I said, standing up. But at least now we can fight back with the truth. And maybe, just maybe, help this family heal properly. Andrew's office was crowded with family members. Uncle Rob paced by the window, while our cousins Sarah and Marcus sat rigidly on the small couch. Nathan stood beside me, his accounting files ready, his presence reassuring as we waited for Andrew to finish reviewing the evidence. "This is extensive," Andrew said, looking up from his computer. "The systematic nature of these deceptions changes everything. The combination of financial fraud and social media manipulation is particularly concerning." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, her voice small. "It means this isn't just about Evelyn's emergency fund anymore," Andrew explained. "We're looking at a pattern of deliberate financial fraud targeting multiple family members, all while maintaining a carefully crafted social media image." Uncle Rob stopped pacing. "I gave her $12,000. She said Cassandra needed emergency dental surgery. She even posted about it on Instagram. She told me it was for special academic counseling," Marcus added. "Another $8,000. There were all these posts about investing in our children's future. And I gave her $15,000 for supposed medical bills," Sarah whispered. "I took out a personal loan for that. She made it look so legitimate on her social media." Andrew typed rapidly on his keyboard. "That brings the total to over $73,000, not including Evelyn's $38,750. The room fell silent as the number sank in. Over $111,750 stolen from family through elaborate lies and social media deception. "I can't believe Cassandra was part of this," Sarah said, shaking her head. "She seemed so genuine when she called to thank me. All those heartfelt posts about family support." "She's a better actress than we thought," Nathan replied bitterly, his accountant's precision showing in his organized stack of evidence. The crying, the gratitude, the promises to pay it back, all rehearsed. The numbers tell the real story. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Why are you doing this to your sister?" "To Cassandra? We raised you to help people. Isn't that why you became a therapist?" I showed the message to Nathan, who snorted. "Yeah, they raised us to be honest, except when they're the ones lying. Some family therapy this turned out to be." Andrew cleared his throat. "I've prepared individual civil suits for each of you, but I recommend we present them as a united case. It strengthens our position, especially given the systematic nature of the deception." "What about criminal charges?" Uncle Rob asked. "That's an option, but it would mean involving the police. As a family law specialist, I have to ask, are you all prepared for that possibility?" Before anyone could answer, the office door burst open. And Victoria stood there, Cassandra hovering behind her, both looking far less polished than their social media personas suggested. "So, this is your little conspiracy meeting." And Victoria's voice was sharp, missing the polished tone from her social media videos. "Turning my own family against me. And you, Evelyn, using your therapy background to manipulate everyone. You did that yourself." I stood up, drawing on years of experience handling confrontations in therapy sessions. "When you decided to steal from all of us while crafting your perfect online image." "Steal?" "I borrowed money for my daughter's future. For your cousin's education. Isn't that what family therapists like you preach about? Supporting each other? Then why lie?" Sarah demanded, finding her voice. "Why make up different stories for each of us? Why all the fake social media posts?" Cassandra stepped forward, her confident social media persona crumbling. "Mom, what is she talking about? Don't act innocent now. Nathan snapped, gesturing to his meticulously organized financial records. We have proof you were in on it. Cassandra, Andrew intervened calmly. Would you like to see the evidence? The multiple stories, the different amounts, your recorded conversations about playing your part? The discrepancy between your social media presence and reality? Cassandra's face crumpled. Mom, you said everyone knew. You said they all agreed to help with my education. So, this is your little conspiracy meeting. Aunt Victoria's voice was sharp, missing the polished tone from her social media videos. Turning my own family against me. And you, Evelyn, using your therapy background to manipulate everyone. You did that yourself. I stood up, drawing on years of experience handling confrontations in therapy sessions. When you decided to steal from all of us while crafting your perfect online image. Steal? I borrowed money for my daughter's future. For your cousin's education. Isn't that what family therapists like you preach about? Supporting each other? Then why lie? Sarah demanded, finding her voice. Why make up different stories for each of us? Why all the fake social media posts? Cassandra stepped forward, her confident social media persona crumbling. Mom, what is she talking about? Don't act innocent now, Nathan snapped, gesturing to his meticulously organized financial records. We have proof you were in on it. Cassandra, Andrew intervened calmly. Would you like to see the evidence? The multiple stories, the different amounts, your recorded conversations about playing your part? The discrepancy between your social media presence and reality? Cassandra's face crumpled. Mom, you said everyone knew. You said they all agreed to help with my education. Of course they agreed, Aunt Victoria shouted, her carefully curated social media persona shattering completely. They just didn't know what they were agreeing to. But it was for you, baby. Everything was for you. All those posts, all those stories about our perfect mother-daughter journey. I never wanted this, Cassandra whispered, looking nothing like her polished Instagram photos. Not like this. Andrew stood up. Mrs. Hayes, I suggest you leave now and contact your own lawyer. We'll be filing our suits this afternoon. You wouldn't dare, Aunt Victoria hissed. We're family. Evelyn, you're a family therapist. You know how important family bonds are. Family doesn't steal from family, I quoted, using the same words I'd told countless therapy clients. Isn't that what you always posted about on social media? Cassandra suddenly turned to her mother. How much? How much did you take from everyone? It doesn't matter. Over $111,000, Nathan cut in, his accountant's precision evident. That's how much your mother stole from us. I have every transaction documented. Cassandra staggered back like she'd been slapped. $111,000. Mom, what have you done to our family? What I had to do. Aunt Victoria grabbed Cassandra's arm. Come on, we're leaving. These people clearly don't understand family loyalty or the importance of maintaining appearances. But Cassandra pulled away. No, I'm not going anywhere with you. She turned to Andrew. I want to make a statement about everything I know. About the fake posts, the staged photos, all of it. Cassandra, Aunt Victoria's voice cracked. You can't. I can, and I will. Cassandra's voice was steady for the first time. I'm tired of the lies, Mom. Tired of being your social media prop. Tired of being the perfect daughter in your perfect posts. As Aunt Victoria fled the office, Cassandra sat down heavily in an empty chair. I'll tell you everything. How she planned it, who else she targeted, all of it. Even the carefully staged Instagram stories. Andrew pulled out a fresh legal pad. Start from the beginning. I looked around the room at Sarah wiping away tears, at Marcus staring at his hands, at Uncle Rob finally sitting down exhausted, at Nathan organizing his financial evidence, at Cassandra preparing to confess everything. As a family therapist, I'd guided countless families through similar crises, but experiencing it firsthand was different. This wasn't how family was supposed to be. But maybe, through all this pain and betrayal, we could build something stronger, something honest, something real beyond the carefully curated social media facade. Okay, Cassandra took a deep breath. It started 2 years ago, when Mom first found out about the college program. She started planning our perfect mother-daughter education journey for social media. The courthouse mediation room felt too small for the tension it contained. I sat between Nathan and Rebecca, facing Aunt Victoria and her lawyer across the table. My clinical eye couldn't help but notice how different Victoria looked from her social media photos. The carefully staged confidence replaced by genuine anxiety. Cassandra had chosen to sit at the end, belonging to neither side anymore. Her own social media accounts now dormant. Before we begin, the mediator said, I want to remind everyone that this is an attempt to resolve this matter without going to trial. Mrs. Hayes has requested this meeting to propose a settlement. Aunt Victoria's lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Miss Peters, cleared her throat. My client is prepared to offer a payment plan to resolve this unfortunate misunderstanding. Misunderstanding, Rebecca muttered under her breath. I squeezed her hand, using the same grounding technique I often recommended to my clients. We propose monthly payments of $500 to each affected party, Ms. Peters continued, until the full amount is repaid. Andrew leaned forward. At that rate, it would take over 16 years to repay the full amount. That's not acceptable to my clients. It's what I can afford. Aunt Victoria spoke for the first time, her voice trembling. I've already taken out a second mortgage on my house. All those posts about our perfect life. They were just a facade. What about the money you took? I asked, my therapist's instincts noting her evasive body language. Where did it all go? Cassandra shifted uncomfortably. The college program only cost about $40,000. The rest went to maintaining appearances. Aunt Victoria cut in. Cassandra needed to look the part, to fit in with her wealthy classmates. The right clothes for our social media posts. The right car for the Instagram stories. The right apartment for our mother-daughter vlogs. So you stole from your family to keep up with the Jones and your social media following? Nathan's voice was ice cold, his accountant's precision cutting through the excuses. That's your explanation? You don't understand the pressure to maintain the perfect image. No, you don't understand. I slammed my hand on the table, making everyone jump. My therapist's composure cracked completely. That money wasn't yours to take. My emergency fund was for actual emergencies, for the trauma survivors I counsel. Sarah took out a personal loan to help you. Uncle Rob delayed his retirement. Cassandra needed designer clothes for our lifestyle posts. Cassandra started crying, genuine tears, unlike her practiced social media performances. I never knew. Mom kept saying everything was handled, that everyone was happy to help maintain our image. I should have asked more questions. Yes, you should have, Rebecca said quietly. But you didn't want to know the truth behind the perfect posts, did you? The mediator raised her hand. Let's focus on the settlement proposal. Mrs. Hayes, do you have any other assets that could be liquidated to increase the monthly payments? Aunt Victoria looked at her lawyer, who nodded slightly. I have some jewelry and investments. The ones I always featured in my luxury lifestyle posts. The jewelry and investments combined are worth approximately $60,000, Ms. Peters added. Andrew consulted his notes. That would still leave over $50,000 to be repaid. I'll get a job, Cassandra suddenly said. A real one, not the fake internships Mom posted about for social media. I can contribute to the payments. You don't have to, Aunt Victoria started. Yes, I do. Cassandra stood up. I benefited from this money, even if I didn't know it was stolen. I paraded around in those designer clothes on Instagram, pretending to be something I'm not. I need to help make it right. The mediator nodded approvingly. That could work. If Mrs. Hayes liquidates her assets immediately and combines that with higher monthly payments from both herself and Cassandra, we could be repaid within 3 years. With appropriate interest and legal fees, I added firmly, drawing on my professional experience with setting clear boundaries. Ms. Peters whispered something to Aunt Victoria, who nodded tearfully. We accept these terms. I'll start liquidating everything tomorrow. There's one more condition, I said, looking directly at my aunt. You need to tell everyone the truth. Not just those of us in this room, but the entire family. No more lies. No more manipulation. No more fake social media perfect life. Michelle, no, that's non-negotiable. I cut her off, drawing on years of helping clients establish healthy boundaries. Either you come clean to everyone, or we go to trial. As a therapist, I know that healing can't begin without honesty. Your choice. The room fell silent. Cassandra reached over and touched her mother's hand. Mom, please. We need to stop living this lie. I'm tired of the perfect social media life. Aunt Victoria seemed to deflate, her carefully maintained image crumbling completely. Fine. I'll tell everyone. Everything. The next hour was spent drafting the formal agreement. As we prepared to leave, Cassandra caught my arm. I know it doesn't mean much now, she said, but I'm sorry for everything. For not asking questions, for playing along, for letting this happen. For all those fake posts about our perfect family. I looked at her, really looked at her, using both my personal and professional insight. The designer clothes that had looked so perfect in her Instagram posts suddenly seemed like a costume. The expensive jewelry like chains. What will you do now? I asked. Transfer to a state school. Get a real job. Start living in the real world instead of mom's fantasy. She managed a weak smile. Maybe become the person I want to be, instead of the person she wanted me to be for her social media empire. As we left the courthouse, Rebecca linked her arm through mine. You okay? I watched Aunt Victoria and Cassandra walking to their car, no longer the proud, polished pair they'd presented to the world online. I think I will be. At least now, everyone knows the truth. Truth has a way of setting things right, Nathan said, joining us. Even if it hurts like hell getting there. The numbers don't lie, and neither should we. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. I heard what happened at mediation. Can we talk? About real feelings, not perfect appearances. I showed the message to Nathan and Rebecca. One battle at a time, Rebecca advised. You've helped enough clients through family reconciliation to know that healing takes time. I nodded, putting my phone away. The war wasn't over, but at least now we were fighting with the truth on our side. As a therapist, I knew that genuine healing could only begin once the masks came off, and our family's perfect facade had finally cracked to reveal the reality beneath. The family gathering at Uncle Rob's house felt more like a group therapy session than a confession. Everyone was there, cousins, aunts, uncles, even distant relatives who'd heard whispers of the scandal. Aunt Victoria stood in the center of the living room, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her, a far cry from her polished social media presence. I've asked you all here because I need to tell you something, she began, her voice shaking. I've done something terrible, and it's time to stop pretending to be perfect. As she spoke, laying out her web of lies and manipulation, detailing how her obsession with maintaining a perfect social media image had led to financial fraud. The reactions around the room shifted from confusion to shock to anger. My mother sat rigid beside my father, her face growing paler with each revelation. My therapist's training couldn't help but analyze every micro-expression, every subtle reaction. You told me Cassandra needed money for medical treatments, Uncle Rob's wife said, standing up. We emptied our vacation fund for that. You even posted about her supposed health struggles. And you told us it was for special academic programs. Another cousin chimed in. We trusted you. We shared all your posts about supporting education. Cassandra, sitting in the corner, kept her head down as the accusations flew. She'd changed in the weeks since the mediation. Gone were the designer clothes and perfectly styled hair that had dominated her Instagram feed. She looked more real somehow, in her simple jeans and t-shirt. There's more, I said, stepping forward. Mom, Dad, you need to explain your part in this. My mother's head snapped up. Evelyn, please, no. She's right, my father interrupted, surprising everyone. We need to come clean too. He stood up, addressing the room. We helped Victoria access Evelyn's emergency fund. We gave her the passwords, helped her hide the transfers. We bought into the perfect family image she was selling. The room erupted again. Nathan moved to stand beside me as our parents faced the family's judgment. As a therapist, I'd guided many families through similar moments of truth, but experiencing it personally was entirely different. How could you do that to your own daughter? Aunt Patricia demanded, especially knowing she's a therapist who helps trauma survivors. We thought we were helping family, my mother said weakly. Victoria said Evelyn had agreed. Her social media posts made everything seem so perfect and reasonable. But you never asked me. I cut in. You never even mentioned it to me. You violated every principle of trust I teach my clients about. Because we knew you'd say no, my mother burst out. You've always been so rigid about money, so unwilling to help family in need. Even with your counseling background. Cassandra suddenly stood up. That's not true. Evelyn helped me with my college applications. She spent hours tutoring me for my SATs. She helped because I asked her directly, honestly, not through manipulated social media posts or lies. Cassandra, Aunt Victoria warned. No, Mom. I'm done hiding. Cassandra moved to the center of the room. I need to confess, too. I knew some of what was happening. I played along, pretended to be desperate when Mom needed to convince people to give money. I posed for all those fake, perfect family photos. I'm not proud of it, but I did it. The silence that followed was deafening. So what happens now? Someone asked. Andrew, who'd been quietly observing from the doorway, stepped forward. Mrs. Hayes has agreed to repay everyone through asset liquidation and a payment plan. Cassandra will also contribute to the repayment. All those designer items from the social media posts will be sold. And the legal charges? Uncle Rob asked. We've agreed to handle this civilly, provided all terms are met, I explained, using my professional tone, including full transparency about everything that happened. My mother stood up suddenly. I need to say something, too. She turned to face me, tears in her eyes. Evelyn, I betrayed your trust. I convinced myself it was okay because you're my daughter, because family helps family. I got caught up in Victoria's perfect social media world. But what we did, it was wrong. I'm so sorry. I wanted to stay angry, to hold on to my hurt. But seeing her there, finally acknowledging her mistake, cracked something in my chest. My therapist's training recognized genuine remorse when I saw it. I trusted you, I said quietly. Both of you. That's what hurts the most. We know, my father said, moving to stand beside my mother. We'd like to make it right. We've decided to sell our vacation property to help repay your emergency fund. Aunt Victoria's head snapped up. The lake house. But that's been in the family for generations. It's featured in all our family photos, and family helps family, my father said firmly, using her own words against her. The right way, this time. Not through social media lies. Cassandra walked over to me. I start my new job tomorrow. It's just waiting tables, but it's honest work. And I've enrolled in community college for next semester. No more pretending to be something I'm not. Good for you, I said, meaning it both as her cousin and as a therapist who recognized genuine change. The rest of the evening was a blur of tears, accusations, and eventually tentative steps toward reconciliation as family members began to leave, each stopping to hug me or whisper apologies. My clinical experience told me these were the first steps in a long healing process. Nathan nudged my shoulder. Look, he said, pointing to where Cassandra and my mother were talking quietly in the corner. Think they'll be okay? Eventually, I said, drawing on my professional knowledge. Once they learn to live in reality instead of fantasy. Once they understand that real relationships are more valuable than perfect social media posts. Rebecca, who'd been my silent support throughout the evening, squeezed my hand. You did it. You stood up for yourself and made them face the truth, just like you help your clients do every day. We did it, I corrected her, including Nathan in my glance. I couldn't have done this alone. As a therapist, I know the importance of a support system. As we left Uncle Rob's house, I felt lighter somehow. The money wasn't all back yet. The trust wasn't fully rebuilt. But at least now, everything was in the open. As I counseled my clients daily, sometimes that's where healing has to start. I sat in Andrew's office, reviewing the repayment progress. The first wave of restitution had come through, proceeds from Aunt Victoria's jewelry sales and my parents' lake house. All those symbols of perfect family life converted into actual amends. The numbers are looking good, Andrew said, sliding a document across his desk. Your emergency fund is almost halfway restored. I scanned the figures, noting the regular deposits from both Cassandra and Aunt Victoria's wages. True to her word, Cassandra had taken a job waiting tables and was working double shifts to contribute more. Her social media accounts now showed the reality of her life instead of a curated fantasy. Have you heard from your parents lately? Andrew asked, closing his laptop. They come over for dinner once a week now. It's different. Better in some ways, harder in others. We're learning to be real with each other, I said, thinking about how often I'd guided clients through similar family reconciliations. At least they're trying. A knock at the door interrupted us. Rebecca poked her head in. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was awful. Perfect timing, Andrew said. We were just discussing the latest developments, including this. He pulled out another document. Victoria is requesting a meeting. My stomach tightened. My therapist's instincts immediately alert. Why? She says she has something important to tell everyone. She wants all affected family members present. The last family meeting went so well, I muttered, but nodded. When? Tomorrow afternoon. I've already contacted everyone else. The next day, I arrived at Andrew's office to find it even more crowded than before. Uncle Rob and his wife sat near the window, while Sarah and Marcus took their usual spots on the couch. My parents stood awkwardly near the door, and Cassandra sat alone in a corner, wearing her waitress uniform. She'd come straight from her shift. Aunt Victoria entered last, looking years older than she had just months ago. She carried a large envelope. Thank you all for coming, she said, her voice rough. I've sold my house. The room went silent. What? Cassandra stood up. Mom, where will you live? I'm moving into a small apartment. The house sale will cover most of the remaining restitution. She opened the envelope and handed papers to Andrew. The closing is next week. My mother stepped forward. Victoria, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Aunt Victoria cut her off. I've spent my whole life pretending to be something I'm not, pushing Cassandra to live up to impossible standards and hurting the people who truly cared about me. As Evelyn would probably say in her therapy sessions, it's time to face reality. Cassandra moved to her mother's side. I'll help with the apartment rent. Between my waitressing job and the barista position I just got, we can make it work. No more fake posts about luxury living. You should focus on your studies, Aunt Victoria protested. I am. Community college is affordable, and I'm learning more there than I ever did trying to keep up appearances at that expensive university. Andrew reviewed the house sale documents. With this, everyone could be repaid within the month, rather than over 3 years. That's what I want, Aunt Victoria said firmly. A clean slate. No more debts. No more lies. No more perfect social media facade. Uncle Rob cleared his throat. What about your retirement? I'll keep working. Maybe it's time I learn the value of honest work, like my daughter has. I watched Regina squeeze her mother's hand, saw the genuine pride in Aunt Victoria's eyes as she looked at her daughter in her simple work uniform. As a therapist, I recognized this moment, when the masks fall away and real connection begins. There's one more thing. Aunt Victoria turned to me. Evelyn, I owe you the biggest apology. I took advantage of your parents' trust in me, manipulated them into betraying you. I was so focused on maintaining appearances that I destroyed the real relationships in my life. As a family therapist, you probably saw through my act from the beginning. We all owed Evelyn an apology, my father added. And a debt that goes beyond money. I felt Rebecca's hand on my shoulder, steadying me as always. The money was important, I said carefully, drawing on years of professional experience. But the trust was worth more. That's what really needed to be repaid. And has it? Aunt Victoria asked softly. Even a little? I looked around the room at Cassandra working honest jobs to make amends, and my parents trying to rebuild our relationship one dinner at a time, at Aunt Victoria selling her precious house to make things right. As a therapist, I'd seen many families work through betrayal, but experiencing it personally gave me new insight. It's getting there, I said, day by day. Andrew spent the next hour processing the house sale paperwork as everyone prepared to leave. Cassandra caught up with me. I'm serving at the diner on 5th Street now, she said. If you ever want coffee, real coffee, not the overpriced stuff I used to insist on, stop by. Maybe we can talk, as family, not as part of some perfect social media story. I smiled. I might do that. Outside, Rebecca linked arms with me. You okay? Yeah, I said, watching my family members disperse. All of them changed. All of them a little more real than they'd been 3 months ago. Both as a therapist and as someone who'd lived through it, I understood the value of this transformation. I think we all are. Sometimes, she mused, it takes losing everything to find out what really matters. And sometimes, what you rebuild is stronger than what you lost. My phone buzzed. A message from Nathan. Mom's asking if you're still coming to dinner tonight. She's finally going to teach us her secret recipe. I smiled, showing Rebecca the message. My relationship with my parents was still healing, but like Cassandra's diner coffee, we were learning to appreciate the simple, authentic things. I said, when I first discovered the theft, I thought my family was destroyed forever. As a therapist, I'd helped others through similar crises, but I never imagined we'd end up here. Here being in a better place than where we started. More honest. More real. Through the diner window, I could see Cassandra showing Aunt Victoria the loan paperwork for her community college classes, both of them smiling through tears. In a few hours, I'd be in my parents' kitchen, learning family recipes and building new trust. On Sunday, we'd crowd into Aunt Victoria's small apartment, sharing simple meals and honest conversations. My emergency fund was finally restored, but I'd gained something worth far more. A family that had learned the hard way that love without honesty isn't really love at all. As a therapist, I'd preached this truth to countless clients, but living it gave the lesson new depth. "Ready to go?" Rebecca asked. "Yeah," I said, starting the car. "I'm ready for whatever comes next." Because that's the thing about family. Sometimes it has to break completely before it can be rebuilt into something stronger, something true. And sometimes the deepest wounds, when healed properly, leave us with the greatest strength. The last check from the house sale cleared on a Tuesday morning. I stared at my restored emergency fund balance, feeling a complex mix of emotions I couldn't quite name. Emotions I'd helped clients process but was only now truly understanding. "Want company for your coffee run?" Rebecca asked from my office doorway. She knew exactly where I was heading. Cassandra's diner had become a regular stop in my routine, though I hadn't planned it that way. The bell chimed as we entered, and Cassandra looked up from wiping down a table, her genuine smile replacing the practiced one from her old social media posts. "The usual?" she called out, already reaching for coffee cups. "Actually," I said, "can we talk for a minute? As family, not as people playing roles in someone else's perfect story."